Okay, so what we're going to do is take your homework assignment that you were supposed to work on for homework, and we're going to look at a few of these. And so I'm going to simplify them to review what you are supposed to have done over the weekend, but then I'm also going to go ahead and work through these and show the excluded values. So now if we go to number 4, okay, so here's number 4 actually in the homework, 20x plus 4 over 8x plus 32. So what I've done is brought it over here and wrote it out. So the first thing we want to do is factor out the GCF because these are binomials, they're not quadratic, so they're not going to factor into two binomials. So we can see 20x plus 4 and the GCF is going to be 4, and then 8x plus 32 and your GCF is going to be 8. And you're not going to factor out x because it's not in both terms. It's only in one term in each binomial. So here, as you can see, I factored out the 4 in my numerator and factored out the 8 in the denominator. So here's what we have for our answer. But what we have to do is find the excluded value. So basically, I'm going to take this x plus 4, set it to equal 0, and then solve for x. So in other words, x cannot equal negative 4. That is my excluded value. Whoops, right on the table. Because if I put negative 4 in for the x, it's going to be negative 4 plus 4, which is 0, and then times 2, which is 0, and that's going to make my denominator a 0. Well, what happens any time that I try to divide anything by 0? What happens is you get an error message. Okay, because that is what we say is undefined in math. So that's how come we have to say when we solve these that x can equal anything, but it cannot equal 4, because if it does, it's going to make my solution undefined. Now let's take a look here if I do happen to have two quadratics here, okay, that we have to factor. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to factor these out. So I don't have GCFs, I know that. And we're going to get our signs, which should be a positive and a negative. And then here our signs are a positive and a positive. Okay, so I'm going to take the only possible factors of m squared, which is m and m. Okay, and then our factors of 63. So because we have a positive and negative, we want factors of 63 that has a difference of 2, which is going to be, what, 7 times 9. And because that's positive, my 9 is going to go behind the positive. Okay, and then here we want factors of 90 that add up to 19. And I know that seems hard, but it's just 10 and 9. One thing that will always give you a clue here is that you know one of these are always going to match. So we can cancel that out, and we see that our solution is going to be m minus 2 over m plus 10. Okay, so now we have simplified it, but we have to find our excluded values. Well, here, even though the 9 canceled, we still have to use it for our excluded values. So we would say m plus 10 equals 0 and m plus 9 equals 0, and then solve. It's kind of like finding the roots. You set them to equal 0. So what that means is that even though I simplified it here, that m cannot equal negative 10, nor can it equal negative 9, because in either case, it's going to make my denominator 0. And if you tried that, if we plug these in, okay, into the denominator here, so let's start off with negative 10. What happens if I do that? So I'm just going to type into my calculator, negative 10 okay, and then plus 19 times negative 10 plus 90 and hit enter, you see it's 0. Now, if I try negative 9, times negative 9 plus 90, it hit, see both cases. When I plug in negative 10 for the m, or I plug in negative 9 for the m, both cases it comes out to equal 0. So that's how come my solution to this problem is actually going to be m plus 2 m over m plus 10, and m cannot equal negative 10 or negative 9. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at number 16. Number 16, we have n squared plus 8n plus 15 over 4n plus 12. Okay, so in this case, we're going to factor out the numerator. And we see both sides are going to be a plus. And then n and n. And then factors of 15 that add up to 8, 5, and 3. And then 4n plus 12, we will factor out that 4, and we're going to have an n plus 3. Now, all we're going to do is take that n plus 3, set it to equal 0, and n cannot equal negative 3. So when we simplify this, it's going to be n plus 5 over 4, and n cannot equal negative 3. That will be your solution right there. So what I want you to do today is I just want you to practice with these. I want you to practice finding your excluded values, and I will post the solutions to this tomorrow. You don't have to turn anything in except for what I asked you to turn in Friday, but continue working with these, and then tomorrow I will go over more problems from the sheet and we will move on to something new. But continue practicing with simplifying your radicals and also with finding your excluded values. Please ask me any questions, or if you need me to work some more of these for you, I'll be more than happy to do that.